Manchester by the Sea is directed by Kenneth Lonergan and tells the story of Casey Affleck's depressed character, Lee Chandler. Starting from when his brother's death brings him back to his hometown, Manchester, which happens to be right by the sea. Lee is left as the sole guardian for his nephew Patrick, but being back in Manchester causes major nostalgia for Lee. His past is what makes him the depressed man that he is today, and throughout the film, the audience gets the answers as for why he is like that through flashbacks from earlier on in his life. As it turns out, Lee left his house one night, forgetting to put the screen over the fireplace, with his wife and 2 children fast asleep. When he returns, he sees his house completely burnt down and his wife being pulled out, but the kids were unable to be saved. The scene I will be analyzing is part of a flashback to when Lee is replaying this unspeakable tragedy, and specifically when he is in the police station explaining exactly what happened that horrible night to the cops while his brother Joe and father wait for him outside. After he is done explaining, the cops say he can go home and that they will call him if they have any further questioning. He is very confused when he is let go with absolutely no consequences, which makes it clear that he blames himself for the fire. When he walks out into the lobby, he grabs another policeman's gun and attempts to kill himself by trying to shoot himself in the head. But the gun was not cocked, so he was unsuccessful by the time the policemen were able to take him down. This flashback is placed in the middle of the scene where Lee is meeting with his brother's lawyer to read the will, and finds out that he now has legal custody of Patrick. It makes sense here because he was reminded of the last time he was in a legal situation, but was talking about losing 2 kids instead of gaining one. This scene is very gloomy and depressing, and the following camera elements add to this feeling. This scene opens up with a long shot of the police station to show the setting of the scene. Next, we see a medium shot of Lee's brother and dad. This impacts the scene because we can see the sorrow on their faces, but we can also tell that they are waiting in the police station. Then, there is a long shot where we can see Lee in the conference room with the policeman still preparing the audience for what is about to happen. This is necessary because the audience can only hear the background music, and there is no dialogue heard until it begins to show Lee talking in the conference room. At the end of Lee telling the story, there is a close-up on his face that allows the audience to see his sadness and confusion, as he isn't sure how he is supposed to go on living his life normally when he is responsible for the death of his children. However, it isn't an extreme close-up, so we can still see his hunched shoulders, which conveys his sadness through body language. In this medium shot, we can see the policeman standing up over Lee, which establishes how Lee is feeling so down on himself without using a camera angle. Also, we can see Lee looking out the window in this shot as if this is when he is making plans to take the gun out of the policeman's holster and use it to end his life. This is an eye-level shot that makes us understand what it would be like to be Lee in that position, confronting the cops about his horrible mistake. Also, from this angle, the audience sees the cops up above Lee, which shows their superiority. This is another shot at eye level from when Lee is explaining what happened, which again puts us on the same level as Lee, making the audience feel more connected to him. Also, Lee is unable to make eye contact with the camera or the policeman, which just tells us again how down he is feeling on himself. Although others are being slightly understanding of his mistake, he is unable to forgive himself. Most of the shots in this scene are at eye level, which really makes the audience feel as if they are too in the police station while all the commotion is going on. This scene is entirely objective, which really makes us feel like we are in the police station watching everything go down. Sometimes the camera is set as if you are sitting at the table, or as if you are standing outside the glass window looking in, which adds to this effect as well. However, this is one shot that is slightly low angle and looks up at the subject. Because he is Lee's father, it is as if he is watching his son attempt to end his life from up above. This represents the power he once had over Lee, and also makes the audience feel vulnerable to how the father is feeling. The camera movement that occurs throughout the majority of the scene is the zoom in on Lee. As he tells the story, we feel for Lee more and more, and the zoom adds to this as well. Like I mentioned before, it really allows us to focus in on his face and see the emotion he is feeling as he tells the story. In addition, there's a pan that follows Lee as he walks to the door, which adds emphasis to him coming out of the office. As we pay close attention to this movement, it is preparing us for what he is about to do. The lighting in this scene is normal, and you can see this because there are the normal lights that a police station would have. In different frames, you can even see the ceiling lights, and there isn't that much contrast in the lighting, which makes the scene feel more realistic. However, in the conference room, there is a little bit of high-key contrast between Lee and his surroundings. He is the only one wearing dark clothes, and in this shot it looks like there is a dark cloud over him due to the shadow he is casting on the table in front of him. This is just another way that the director shows us how Lee is feeling while explaining the tragedy. The sound in this scene is all diegetic except for the background music, which has been playing throughout this entire presentation. The song builds when Lee grabs the gun to add to the intensity, but other than that, it is made up of organs and slow strings, which makes the tune sad and gloomy. The dialogue in this scene is all between Lee and the police officers. Lee talks in a monotone voice, which shows us that he is not thrilled he has to relive these events yet again. Both the transitions in and out of this scene are flat cuts. This is because this scene is a flashback and is not happening in real time. It comes to his head when it does, and that's when it switches to it. However, leading into the flashback, these shots of scenery are shown, and then at the end of it, we see these shots, and then a flat cut back to Lee exiting the lawyer's office. Aside from all the technical elements, this scene is very important to the storyline. In the beginning of the film, we see Lee moping around doing his somewhat illegal job, not really seeming to care much about anything. In this flashback, we are given the answers as to why he is so lonely. It is because he doesn't think he deserves to be happy because of the horrible mistakes he has made. In fact, he barely wants to live at all. Overall, this scene is very gloomy and depressed, which is enhanced by all the technical elements that director Kenneth Lonergan placed in the film oh so carefully.